The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. It's Stephanie. I want to welcome you to today's webinar, Foundations of Success. Your first hire is your best hire with MAP's Vice President and your coach, Monica Reynolds. Please note this webinar is being recorded and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have any questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar control panel, and Monica will be answering those questions towards the end of the call. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at maps@kw.com. That's all for me, Monica. Take it away.
Hey everyone, thanks so much. I know we're a week, almost a little over a week before Countdown to Family Reunion. We're working hard around here in Austin at MAPS. So the whole building is leaving and going to Dallas, so hopefully you're going there. One of the things I wanted to share with you today, of course, is I started talking about assistants in the late 70s, early 80s when dinosaurs were walking around. I got thrown out of a Coldwell Banker office, not thrown out, but they were very concerned that I had an assistant. This is in the 80s, and that she wasn't licensed, and oh my gosh. So in the dead of the night, I left and started my own real estate company, and the rest was history. So they were very concerned about the liability. Now you have to remember, I did more business than all of their agents together, and they were going to be concerned about my assistant who was helping me. So there you have it. So with that said, I wrote a couple of books in the 90s about building a team and assistants. So I kind of dug the well, and I'm the pioneer of all of this information. And I've coached more people than anyone in the country. And I can tell you, I've seen a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes on hires. And I now know the right way to do it. And your first hire is your best hire. So Stephanie, who's on the call here, and I've worked together for 10 years. Gary Keller has an assistant that he has worked with for 37 years, his original first hire. Can you imagine that? Which is awesome, amazing. So if you turn to the first slide, Stephanie, let's go to that one. And let's talk about 11 steps to build your foundation and get the right person on board the first time. Wouldn't that be great? So you got to know your why. Why are you building a team? So you're a realtor, and you sell a house, you sell a house, you sell a house, you close the deal, you close the deal. You know, you do the paperwork, or maybe you have a virtual or a company that helps you. And yet you want to build a team and you're going to hire an assistant. You got to understand you're now a business person. That person is an employee. You've got to have systems. You got to set expectations, and you need to have training. Imagine that. And you got to know your budget to hire one. So if you look at the MREA book, was written in 2000s, and Gary said 40 to 45 transactions. If you look at my book written in the 90s, 40 to 45 transactions. And yet with the commissions that have grown over the years, it could be at 25, 30 transactions. It depends on your budget and knowing your why you're doing this. And also importantly too, do you have at least 3 months of salary set aside for the assistant? Now, did I do that when I hired my first assistant? Heck no. So I'm telling you the right things to do. I have fortunately got lucky and hired the perfect person. She was an ex-kindergarten teacher. Who better to talk to my clients? Sit here, sign the paperwork, don't squirm, don't spill your water. It was so great. She was amazing. And so that, you know, I started out, I was doing 60 plus transactions by myself, single mom, 3 kids, decided to hire this person. And I thought, I'm going to hire her for 30 days, see how it works. And pretty much my life changed. I doubled my business that month. And I thought, okay, this is good. So I went over 100 transactions that year with her. And I thought, okay, now I got this. Then I hired my next assistant, and the rest is history. So you got to know your numbers too. Do they support another hire? Do you have listings pending? Do you have buyers pending? You don't want to be stealing from Peter to pay Paul. You've got to have some of these systems in place. And first one is the budget. Do you have the money? Don't put yourself in a stressful situation. You know, have a detailed job description for that position or each position that you're hiring. So that's a critical process. 30, 60, 90-day plan. I'm going to share that with you. What's the first 30 days they're responsible for? This next 60, the next 90. Run it as a business. being at Keller Williams here at the corporate office in Austin, when you're hired, you've got a job description, you sign off on it, we set the expectations, and then we do a 30, 60, 90, and every week we do a 411. Imagine that, a 411. So make sure your compensation plan is ready. I would never, 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 never pay a percentage of the business. So for example, on every closing, they get a percentage. Assistants don't normally can live like that, especially if you take off for vacation for 2 or 3 weeks or there's a dry spell. We all know about those dry spells. So that doesn't work well. Gary and I did a webinar yesterday together, and I said, let me answer that question. You pay them a fair wage where they can pay their bills. And Louisiana, a fair wage is different than working in San Diego, California, where the cost of living is super high, 14% state income tax when you file your state income tax. And so it's a different ball game there for a base salary for an assistant. The other one, number 7, make sure your training program is in place. And so obviously the perfect real estate assistant with MAPS and is great. Want anyone who has an assistant to put them through the class. We have a lot of people who are just repeat the class over and over and over again, where they put their new assistant in, or they're having their assistant who heard it once to hear it the second time, the third time. And then we have the perfect operations team. So we do have training for you. We do have training for you. The KPA and the desk with deadlines. Oh my gosh. So here's what I do, and I'm going to share it with you on another slide. When I get a resume, I will call that person and I'll say, gosh, thank you for your resume. Do you have a couple of minutes? I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. And one of the questions I say, so tell me why you're leaving your current job or why you left your current job. And I'll just say, do you have a couple minutes? I just want to talk to you briefly. And then I'll say, describe the perfect job for you. What are your hobbies? What do you feel you're the best at? What do you think you need the most training on? Just those simple questions like that. And then I make a decision. Do I like their energy on the phone? Do I like their voice? I have had people respond to me saying, and I always say, did I catch you at a good time? Could you talk for a few minutes? They'll say, let me think about that. No. You got to think on your feet. You got to have some personality. You're going to represent me to our clients. This is not good. So you got to be able to think on your feet and say, well, let me share this with you. And so I'm really listening for who that person is. If I like what they say, I say, great. The next step is I'm going to send you a KPA, which is a personality assessment. You can't win or lose on it. It's just who you are, which is great. And the DISC test. And today is Wednesday. May I get it back by Friday at 5? Is that too soon? Would you be able to make that deadline? They say yes. I write down 5 o'clock. And on Friday at 5:01, if I don't have it, boom. They get it to me at 5:30, 6 o'clock. Usually I'll say, thank you. We'll let you know what we've decided to do. And then we send them another email next week, say we filled the position. I'm not going to hire someone who, if they emailed me and said, I am so sorry, my child was sick last night, I wasn't able to do it. If they will give me a heads up, I'm okay with that usually. I love it when I send that link out and they send me a thank you note, like, thank you, it was great talking with you. I'm excited to, fill this out. And I get it filled out in the next few hours. Now, there's somebody who's excited. They're leaning into the job. The life story, boy, isn't that an interesting one. Are you victim or are you victorious? I have heard some of the weirdest stories. This one gal, and Stephanie's on the call, came to interview in the office, and she told me she hadn't been paid. Why is she leaving her current job? Because she hadn't been paid in 2 months. And I said, has your agent had closings? Oh, yes. And I go, well, why weren't you paid? She goes, well, she said she had to pay her bills first. And I went, okay. So I thought to myself, how would I hire this person to fight for my clients when we need to fight? There's no fight in this person. And I would say, thanks for coming in. I appreciate your time. And I would escort them out. And then I'd send them an email. Thank you for your time. We filled the position. Blah, blah, blah. That life story, what'd you do since high school? What's happened to you? Now, if you go on KW Connect and you look, if you want to know how to do a great KPA, Gary KPA'd me on stage in front of 7,000 people. He has the best questions ever. So if you want to go find that on KW Connect under Resource Library, it's my interview, Monica Reynolds, Gary Keller, and it was at Mega Camp last year, 2019. Those questions that Gary asked are so amazing. And then he stops the interview every now and then and says, now this is what I learned, and this is why I'm asking this question, and this is why I'm pausing. He does these uncomfortable pauses. Number 10, execute daily stand-ups and weekly 411s. Okay, you're a leader. You've got to communicate. You got to set standards. You got to set expectations. You just don't say, this is how I did in the old days. Here's the files. Read about all these people. I'll be back in later to talk to you about them. And then I talk real fast in about 2 minutes. I was not training then. However, I had the fortune to hire someone super smart that would tie me down and say, teach me this so that I don't ever have to ask you again. I mean, she was awesome. I've lucked out. Create growth plans for them. This is not a cul-de-sac job. It's not a cul-de-sac salary. When you hire that perfect person, your clients' lives change. Your life changes. It's the most amazing thing that you can trust and you rely on someone. Steph, go to the next one. If you have questions, put them in the chat box. I'll answer them toward the end here. And I would love to answer your questions, or not the chat box, the question box. Sorry, I always do that wrong. Okay. All right. So on the resume checklist. Now, you first of all, write down that you have to go to CV, career visioning, and you go every year, at least once a year. If you're delegating this to a director of operations, you're building out your team, they go once a year. Every time I've gone, I heard something different, and I'm going, how did I miss that before? There was a page on this. How would I not know that that's important? Because my learning was at a different level. And so it's really critical. Now, in the resumes, I was the first one to say, well, that's just ridiculous. Call 3 levels deep on resumes. What the heck? So now I'm really clear. No friends or families as a resume check. No friends or families. Number 2, when I'm talking to their reference, I will say to them, you know, John, it was great speaking with you. You know what? I need to talk to one more person. Who else in your department should I talk to? And they give me a name. I go, how do I reach them? Great. And I talk to that second person. Then I say, oh, Jane, thanks for taking your time. I really appreciate those answers. And I have to talk to one more person. Can you think of someone else that I should talk to? Well, you should talk to so-and-so. And it will go, great. Now, true story. This particular person, an agent, was applying for the job of sales manager with us. Personality, oh my gosh, over the top. Cute, darling, everybody loves her type of personality. Walks in a room and, you know, she's got this big smile. She was just great. Just a lovely person. So I thought. First call, okay, it's pretty good. Second call, well, we did have some challenges at the market center. And I go, well, tell me about that. Well, it's secondhand knowledge. I prefer not to say anything. I went, okay, all right, that's fine. Who would I want to talk to possibly about that? And he goes, well, I'd probably refer you over to so-and-so. And I went, great. I'm not going to tell you what I heard, but that person is not coming back in my office under any circumstance. And it took 3 levels to find that out in the resume check. So be careful, be careful, be careful. So all of these screens are going to be available to you also. So, you know, general review, customer service background I'm looking for, real estate background, education background. I want an assistant I hire on talent, and then I get them licensed. Everyone on my team would always be licensed. Love that they have a recommendation letter, professional presentation, meaning that they came into the office, and we'll talk about that the first meeting. They come into the office, they're professionally dressed, they're on time or early. 2 ways to come to the office, on time or early. Now, I get San Diego traffic. I've been in all kinds of craziness and where there's a shooting on the freeway and you don't move for 3 hours. I get that. But you're going to call ahead and say, I've hit a little traffic on the 5, which is the big freeway in San Diego, and I apologize. I must have not left soon enough. And I go, no problem. Just let me know what time you're going to get in. I'm a kind person when it comes to that. Just communicate with me. Just don't show up late. That's not going to work. So when you get those resumes, I divide them up into 3 groups. One group is that they have real estate experience, maybe with title, maybe with a lender. It doesn't matter. They have real estate experience, whatever that might be. Worked in another office. Second pile is they have administrative work background. That's good. And third is what I call Burger King. They do not have any administrative background, no office experience. Then they're going to go in that third pile. First pile I'm looking at is the real estate. I'm going to pick the top 3, 4, 5 of those, and I'm going to have them come in, and I'm going to call them first. And if they go through the phone interview, then we're a winner. We're going to go on from there. All right, Stephanie, let's put the next slide up. The hiring process. All right, so there's an ad, there's resumes, you ask over the phone questions, which are right there, KPA, the DISC, the office interview, which I just mentioned. In that office interview, I like to say to them, so tell me, what have you learned about my team and my company before you came today? I haven't learned anything yet. I was just hoping to hear from you. I haven't had a chance. Not a good way to start with me. I like the guy or gal that comes in with 42 questions. Oh, yes, I looked at Keller Williams' website. I looked at your website, and I have some questions for you. I'm going, oh, I like this, and I'm leaning in because I like that a lot. The question's always going to, well, what's the pay? And I say, I know that's important to you, and I appreciate that. The first meeting today is about me getting to know you, you getting to know me, and let's just talk. And I do not talk about pay, because the second you talk about pay, they grade everything you're saying judged on what you're offering. And there's no value proposition set up. There's no opportunity set up. There's no way that they can make a residual income off a profit share. None of that's been talked about. So why do they want to even look at that salary? Doesn't work. Once we get through the second interview and I've gone through the career visioning process, I've KPA'd them, validated that. I usually do that on the first meeting. Then I do the life story on the second meeting. I'll have the team meet with them, maybe the third or fourth meeting. And then we'll test their skills. And I check the references. I check those really right away. The other team members meet, go, now I'm getting ready to hire this person. I'll go through the job description line by line by line. They may not understand the whole bits and pieces of the job description, but I'm setting the expectation that you'll be trained on this. In fact, our job description is your training checklist. The schedule, we go through the schedule saying these are our hours, and then I give them the offer letter. Okay, so that's basically it in a nutshell. All right, so if you follow a very strict guideline and you don't hire on the spot and you have other people interview that person, you do the KPA and you match, job match. And so the KPA will do like 36, 37 different matches now. If you need a TC, it's a job match of a TC. If you need a listing manager, it's a job match for a listing manager. You need an executive assistant, there's a job match for that. So make sure that you are putting those in the right categories. So with that said, Stephanie, let's go to the next slide. Let's set some goals here, all right? So probably a lot of you have seen this. This is in career visioning, and I wrote this particular one for the real estate assistant, setting goals. They're specific, measurable, achievable, repeatable, and timely. So if you haven't seen these SMART goals, you're going to see them for the first time. This is how you create a success checklist for the assistant to excel in their job in the first 90 days. A lot of us, including myself, would make a mistake saying, well, in 30 days, they need to be up and running on everything. Oh, no, 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 no. Not if you really want to build a great foundation with your assistant. Next page, Stephanie. So let's take a look at the next page, which is the 30-day goals. So I wrote this for career visioning, and this is the way I see it. You may see it differently, and I'm okay with that. However, there's a couple fundamentals. They are trained, and they are role play. You role play with your assistant on regarding the phone as far as handling an effective a potential buyer, potential seller. You're learning how to communicate with them. If client calls, they learn how the scripts on a client calls and is upset. The client hasn't heard from you for a while. What are some of those scenarios? What are the scripts that you're going to give your assistant for that? Now, in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant class, all of those are given. And yet, so take the time to role play. The phone is the cash register. And in my training at Perfect Real Estate Assistant, we talk about the cash register all the time. And so that's really critical. The second thing is the database and Command. So hopefully most of you are using Command. And if you're not, it's still database centric. It's still information that will be appropriate. A complete is name, address, phone number, and email. How many should you have in your database? At least 5,000 and growing. You should have a goal of 100. You know, Gary says 3 per day. 100 per month works for me. When you hire a brand new assistant, they should bring you at least 300 to 400 names. If they don't have 300 or 400 names, that's their goal to work toward that. They go to a gym, they go to daycare, they go to church, their previous occupation, previous job rather. They've got friends and family all over the country. Get them all. Just get them all. Okay. Then, you know, the other thing that we go through possibly, now this is going back to email campaigns, the database, video campaigns, marketing videos, smart plans, and things like that in your Command. The consumer app, unbelievable what that's going to do for the database. No other company, no other software does this. It's going to knock it out of the park. So wait till you see that. And it is ready. It is working. I have it on my phone. A lot of us have it already, testing it out. It's unbelievable, the consumer app. Now, we'll do some more training on that coming up in the future. Know and effectively communicate the listing process from A to Z. That's pre-listing package. That's calling and confirming the appointments in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant. We have that information. I give you a pre-list package that's duplicatable and scalable. Seller feedback using the script. So I go through that with the assistants on the call, and they say, those services are great, where an agent will go in there and give you the information from, you know, an internet service. However, one, I hardly ever did them. I know, I'm sorry, I was too busy. Two, I was afraid of what I said, so I always said nice things, not bad things, in case it was expired, because it was overpriced. And so there's a script that I use that I teach the assistants that they call the agent, number one, and they say, thank you for showing our listing on Cherry Street. You have a couple of minutes. Monica asked that I call you. Great. It'll take 2 minutes. Is your buyer writing an offer? No. What would it take for your buyer to write an offer? Well, they didn't like this and this and this and this. That might be something we can cure, so we want to find out why they didn't write an offer. Number three, what do you feel the property should sell for? That's what we ask, and then we give that unfiltered information to the seller, and I've got the scripts for that, and that's how you get a seller to understand what is happening to their home in a showing. That's the number one complaint in National Association of Realtors, that sellers don't understand what happened at the showing. We give it to them and we tell them, I hope you don't mind, it's unfiltered information. Your cat box stinks. I mean, we will tell them, say it a little nicer than that, but we will say that. And so we have another theory behind that I teach your assistants. If they are not a Keller Williams agent, put them on a spreadsheet for your possible team growth or downline. And so anytime you're meeting, or they're calling about a listing, or they wrote an offer on a listing, or they showed a listing, they need to go on that spreadsheet. They need to go on that spreadsheet. That's your attack sheet. Just saying. But I got systems for that. All right. Okay. So maintain the listing checklist, getting reviews. So every assistant will be taught to get one review out from that client during the course of a listing or a pending. Get one review. And also taught to get one referral. I'm real big on the Mike Hicks promise, and so I've written out all the scripts. I show them how to do it, and of course I have to get you to do it. So on those calls, you know, there's 3 a month for 6 months. The first call is for you, teaching you to be a great boss and a great leader, and what I'm going to be teaching the assistants that month. So that really helps you with churn. We call it, it's not turnover anymore. Gary uses the word churn, the churn rate, which means they're out of there and that cost you a lot of time and money and you made a mistake in hiring. All right, so the other thing too is that we want to make sure that in that first 30 days, property brochures, doing the open house, Facebook ads, etc., inventory. Funny story that happened on Facebook ads that I thought was just great. There was an agent who called the Command help desk, and she was really upset. She said, somebody has been in my database. There's 87 people that I don't know that have been put in my database. So Command went, oh, we're sorry. Let's look into this. They looked into it. She had forgotten she placed some Facebook ads through Command, and those were leads for her. So then they have her on video doing the happy dance. She's so happy that she found out she has 87 leads and didn't know it. She just thought all these names just kept popping up mysteriously. Just sharing that story with you. Turn the page to 60 days right now. Closing files, tracking numbers of sources of business, lead generation systems, all of that. Those are the next 60 days. So you don't go past the 30 days. And sometimes it can be because you didn't train them properly. You didn't give them the information against what you do and what the perfect real estate assistant does with the MAPS organization. This is the best combination to get a great assistant up and running. Tracking numbers and sources of business, lead generation systems, all of those in that next 60 days. Stephanie, go to the next page, 90-day goals. Okay, 90 days goals, simple. If you have one executive assistant, all the marketing, all the listings, all the pending, database, phones and scripts, tracking the numbers, goal monitoring, 15th protocol of the month, assistant with 1 or 2 lead generation systems. She's helping with some, she's helping with lead generation systems. So I want you to hear this, is that at the end of 90 days, they should be able to do these things 80%. Proficiency and efficiency is okay. It's not going to be 100% yet because it's the big picture. And so this is the beginning of building a great executive assistant. Let's go to the next one, talk about 80-20 of an executive assistant. So what's their 20%? Let's get clear about that. Transaction management, listing management, client care should be at the top of that list. Client events, building those out because that's going to be revenue generating, and planning those ahead of time, maybe do 1 a quarter. Database management, marketing campaigns, and lead source tracking. My favorite is there's an executive assistant that plans out these events that I've talked to in their team. They had 385 people come for the pies Thanksgiving. Now, I never was big into the pies, but I thought, okay, this is good, and it really works for it. And then this one particular person that I coached said, I got 67 referrals. I went, how in the world did you do that? She said, my assistant and I decided that we're going to have a table, and on that table will be a gift card to Amazon, interesting, or a bottle of wine. Now, they're coming to get the pie. So we have them sign in. And after they've signed in, we say, oh, by the way, if you can think of anyone who's thinking about buying or selling in the next year, write their name and phone number down and go pick out a gift card to Amazon or a bottle of wine. She said she had literally people that would go sit down in a chair and scroll through their phone trying to think of who might be selling. She said it was the most amazing thing. She listed 6 houses in the first 2 weeks. Half of them are wanting to do something this year. The other half are in their database and they're in communication with them. So check it out, all right? So let's go to the next one, Stephanie. I know I've got a lot covering here. Okay, the format of a 411, which you guys have all seen before, and you should be extremely familiar with it. Why not for the assistant? Why not for the buyer agent? Why not for every single person on your team, even a field coordinator? Your first hire should be your best hire, and this is how you do it. So let's go to the next page, and I'll show you the format of the 411 that we like. Okay? So here's the one thing that Gary has talked to me about, and he feels really strongly about this. On this 411, there are 3 categories, okay? And the first category is your business, okay? Category is finances, your money, and it's your personal. So there's 3 that you're working all the time. So I have a coach, and I just got off my coaching call, and I go through my 411 every single week with my coach and what I'm going to do. So now you've got that. Can you imagine when you have an assistant that you're pouring into, and they're saying they're going to get 1 referral every single month from a current client, that they're going to get a referral from their sphere of influence, and they're going to get 1 review, 1 a week? Isn't that great how they pay for themselves? It's amazing. And yet, why not give them the opportunity? When I hire people, I say, this is not a cul-de-sac. salary. You have an opportunity to make a lot more money than your salary. So let's talk about how we do that. It's amazing to give them that opportunity. When you hire the right people, they love it. Let's go to the next form because I appreciate everybody's time and I want to answer your questions coming up here. So one of the things is communication. It's just like, why do most assistants have a life expectancy of 2 years or less? It's because of communication and sometimes money. Most of the time it's communication. So you're in a marriage with this person, you're going to see them more than you see anybody else in your world probably all day long. So why not do it correctly? You have a daily huddle, you have a daily meeting, daily check-ins. Now, I have systems for all of that in the training. The most important one is that these meetings are 10 to 15 minutes on the huddle. The daily meeting is absolutely, what did I do yesterday? What am I doing today? Problems or concerns. The assistant's highly organized for those questions. There's no interaction until 11 o'clock. Why? Because you're on the phone. You're smiling and dialing and making a pile, and it's your lead generation time. It's your lead follow-up time. Imagine that. Don't bother your assistant because she's working or he's working on their 20%. Daily check-ins at 4 o'clock before the day's in, whether you're on appointment, call before, call after, make sure you're touching base to see what happened and what questions they have. Let's go to the next one, Stephanie. So I know I'm talking fast and all these screens, but they're all available to you. So don't get mad. Just know that I'm rolling here because I know you guys are listening fast too. Weekly team meetings, or they are set up if you have a team. No more than 30 minutes. It starts on time to talk about the goals. It's not a complaint session. It's only about moving the business forward. Monthly team meeting where you're looking at the business and you're evaluating what happened that month. What did we do right? What did we do wrong? What do we need to do to ramp it up for this month? You're in business planning meeting. You know, establish the date 30 days in advance. Most agents are doing them in October for the preceding year because it takes about a month sometimes to gel everything in. And yet, what a great way to get everybody excited about the new year. So I hope you did it. If not, it's not too late to do that. So I'm going to go to the questions here in a minute. But before I do that, Stephanie, let's go to the next page. So the program details are this. I've been doing this program since 1990 something or other, and every single time it's changed and updated. We will have some command things in there. We will have some other things that I've learned from some top agents around the country, so I'm constantly improving it. So if you've been to it before, come back again. It's all new material, and I look forward to having you on the calls. The first call every month is for the agent to help you be a great leader and a great boss. The second and third call of the month they're all recorded. They're all a webinar with me talking. They're all recorded in case you miss them. And we have probably 450 pages of a handout of systems for you to implement. Everything from letters to checklists to pass the baton and how to effectively communicate with a client on a new listing. Because they're paying 6% of the value of their home, let's give them the service that they deserve. And on a closing, making sure that closing, that's the icing on the cake. That's where it's really important that we stay in touch with them. One of the things that you'll hear me saying to an assistant, they should call every day. Some can, some can't, but you want to call often. And we talk lots and lots about customer experience versus customer service. Customer service is, hey, I was going to ask you a question. Assistant says, let me ask you a question. Any pets on the premise? Customer experience is, oh boy, Monica was so excited to meet Tank. He sounds like a great family member. Tank is a 250-pound Rottweiler, has his own bed, watches dog TV, and has his own couch. So the dog is the family member. That's much better customer experience. Oh, I'd love to meet Tank. He sounds like such a cool guy. You don't call him a dog, it's Tank. All right, so with that said, Stephanie, let's look at some of these questions. This program starts March 3rd, and we do have a bonus for you if you want to sign up. I think there's $100 off somewhere, Stephanie, right?
Yes. It's Web 100 is the code. Web.
Do you have that
100.
page on here?
No, that page was taken off.
Oh, okay. All right, so we should add that page when we send this out to everybody.
Okay.
So that they have it. So where did they go, Stephanie?
When it'll ask you if you have a code once you sign up, and the code is WEB, WEB 100. Web 100.
Where do they go to sign up, though?
They go to KW Maps Coaching, and that's where they'll sign up on the Perfect Assistant class.
Okay, KW Maps Coaching. We will add that page, Stephanie, before we send that link out to everybody, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks. Okay. All right, everyone. What are the questions, Stephanie? Thanks.
Okay, so Bill Rapp would like to know, how do you test their skills in the hiring process?
How do you do what?
How do you test their skills? Where it says you test skills.
Okay, I teach that in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant. Okay, so one thing is if they know database and they can do data entry, I have them do some data entry. I show them real quick how to get on, and they better know how to, how they do it. The second thing is I have them type out a letter, and I see how fast they type it and how many mistakes they made, etc. I then give them an email to send, and I say, okay, I'd like you to send an email and say, Dear John, it was great to hear from you. And I look forward to talking to you about your home. There is another one that is absolutely terrific as a buyer you would be interested in that you need to know about. So there is THERE. Here is HEAR. It was great to hear from you type of thing. And yet they will make typos. And so I'm looking to see if they know the difference. And they're not typos because it won't show up as a typo, but they need to know how to do that. I will give them a couple of math, 6% commission, 25% referral fee, and 40% to the buyer agent. How much is that? Only because I want them to check numbers. So I give them some things like that really quickly. I've heard their voice over the phone, yet I'll give them a script and we'll role play the script. I don't want them to all of a sudden turn into a Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse voice when they pick up a phone. That's happened to me. Their voice is different when they pick up a phone. It's so weird. Okay, so those are just some basic ones like that. Okay. The typing test, you can go to typingtest.com or typing.com, and there's a test there. You can see their accuracy and how fast they type. I've had people who tell me they type and they can't type. It's unbelievable. Okay. All right. What else, Steph?
Okay. Next is, does this training include the items? Does the Perfect Assistant training include the items you went over in the hiring process?
It includes all of those items, and it also includes 450 pages of systems and items and checklists and letters. I have some of the best letters in the country. I've either written them, stole them, borrowed them, you name it. I got the best letters in the country. And they're great emails. Okay. All right.
Okay,
what else?
So the next is, in the Perfect Assistant, are the docs in Word format so that we can edit them for our team?
They aren't in Word format, and there are some that we can give you if you really want them in a Word format. What I've learned over the years, to be totally honest with you, is that you have to take this, print it off, cross through it, say, I don't like this line, I don't like that line. Now, I know what you're looking for. However, what we've learned over the years is that you taking it and you owning it more with your assistant and her making the changes is the best. If there's a few that you want, absolutely, I'll give you those.
And may I mention too, Monica, the Microsoft Word programs all have that changer where you
PDF converter.
The PDF converters are already built in, so you can just save it as a Word document and edit it that way as well.
Good. That's Stephanie. Okay, so the answer is yes. Okay, good. All right, what else?
So next is, one of the slides mentioned 3-ring binder. What is that?
Well, that was back on doing a business planning and their monthly meeting. So when I did a business planning meeting for the year, we gave everyone a 3-ring binder, and it would have said on if you were new on my team, the tab 2020. It would have our goals. It would have what we did 2019. It would have your growth plan. It would have your 411. It would have our GPS. It would have everything in there. It would have a list of all of the people on the team and phone numbers, etc. Now, when we meet quarterly, then we would have a quarterly review tab, and then we would put that information in there. So I'm a paper person. I like notebooks. I like people coming to a meeting with notebooks. I don't like people bringing their laptop because I think that they're doing their emails. And we also had that conversation here at KWRI. And so one of the things that I think is important about that is that this is a tangible binder with the growth of the company, the growth of the team, and it also is a reference of what the goals are. And if it's a buyer agent, they have their personal GPS, their personal goals in there. They have their schedule in there. They have their growth plan. They have the events they're going to do. They have their training schedule. It's all in there. So that's what that is. So thanks for asking. Good job noticing. Okay, what else?
Okay, next is, if my business isn't ready financially yet for an assistant, that means I am one. How can I get help in the meantime?
Well, first thing I do is start putting 10 or 15% away of every check towards getting an assistant. And if you aren't at the 30 plus transactions right now, then what I would suggest is you got to get your business up. Of course, you got to have business to have an assistant. In the meantime, you can use a virtual if you want to have help with the closing. A lot of market centers have closing coordinators or TCs that you can hire for like $300-400 a transaction, or a listing manager you can hire for $150. They don't do any communication with the clients. You don't want them to normally because they've got so many files. They're not going to give customer service like I'm talking about. So the best thing to do is to see if you can find some of these virtuals to just do a little bit of a handoff there. The other thing is take a look at Command. Boy, Command can do a lot of things for you. It really can. It can replace a person or two every now and then. So just think about that. Okay. All right. What else, Stephanie?
Okay, so if you've hired the wrong assistant, how do you politely release them?
Well, first of all, you hired the wrong assistant, you have a corrective conversation. And the corrective conversation is, in my opinion, firing is never a surprise out of the blue. You say, let's have a conversation. I've written down the 4 or 5 things that I need you to work on and change immediately. And this is the program. This is how you're going to do it. These are the mistakes I've seen you make, et cetera. So I always do compliment. You know, I really appreciate you, coming to work on time. I appreciate your smile in the morning. However, here are the things we need to work on. And then it's correction, then compliment again. You give them a deadline. So in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant, there's a corrective conversation form. Imagine that, where they sign off, you sign off, and there's a date and it goes in their employee file. So firing should never be a surprise unless they did something extraordinary, like lie, do something horrible with a client. Those immediate fires, that's different. So I give everybody a chance. Okay, after a week, this person hasn't done it, then you have an interview with them. You call them into your office, and you be prepared to do the closing your fired checklist, which makes sure you've got all the passwords and you know what they've had, et cetera, and you're willing to get those shut down. I shut those down as they're on the way to the office, and then I say, hey, come talk to me a minute. Then I brought in, if they've been there a while, a box or two so they can get their stuff out of there, and I say, I'm very sorry. I don't think this is a surprise to you. What I'm requiring in the job has not been able to be, is not something that I see that you are able to do or want to do, and so we're taking a different position here. I mean, my job is my business is going in a different direction, and I'm so sorry we no longer need your services. So that's the key phrase. My business is going in a different direction. I no longer need your services. And that's it. That's how I do it. But I give them a chance first because I'm always big about the chance. I don't like to blindside anyone. They've tried, then they get to try. A lot of times when and Stephanie will know this, I did this with a gentleman named Clay on my team, and I gave him a list. He was a TC, and he was not doing the things, not doing this, not doing that. I gave him a list on Monday, and I said, on Friday, we'll circle back. You always have a date, you circle back. Friday, he resigned. He couldn't do it. He was not going to do it. He was not prepared to do it, so he left. And that was fine, too. So sometimes they deselect. It's amazing how that happens. What else?
Okay,
Steph?
so once they're signed up for the Perfect Real Estate Assistant webinar course, Monica, how many on the team can be on the call?
That's a great question. So here's what we do. You pay for one person. The other team members can be on the call. That's fine with me. You don't have to pay for everybody to be on a call. So it's $199 a month. And if you use the code and the $100 gift thing, that takes the $100 off of, I believe, your first month. And so that's our gift for you showing up on this call today. So again, there's 18 calls. There's 3 per month. And every single month is over, I would say, it's like 70 or 80, 90 pages every single month of systems and checklists. They are blueprints. I've been doing this longer and training assistants longer than anybody in the country. I've coached most of all of the top agents in the country. I've coached more than anybody. And I know exactly what works as far as putting systems into place. Your job as an agent is that you lead generate, you lead follow-up, you go on appointments, write contracts, etc. The key thing for you guys is to leverage yourself with a top-notch assistant. Your life changes, your family life changes, and your client's life change with that kind of customer service. Plus, you're providing a great living. You're supporting someone, bringing them into your business. And that's a great thing too, is when you can support someone to help them build for their dreams and goals. And that 411 is such a critical thing to teach assistants to think big. All right, what else, Stephanie?
Okay, so where is the bottom line when you're making too few closings to hire someone? Like when would you get your half a person?
Oh, I get my half a person right away. I mean, let's just do the math here, everybody. That half a person, bring them on right now. Let me share why. If you would do this, you can have a half a person. Will you do this? So let's say you get a half a person that comes in 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week. Wow, that would be amazing. They do all of this, they take care of this, they right? 2 hours a day, 10 hours a week. You lead generate hard and steady and no excuses, and you do 20 contacts every single day. While they're doing that, you get an extra deal. Now, should you do what you do otherwise too? Sure, do more contacts, but you will get an extra deal every single month. So let's say you hired someone for $15 an hour. That's high in some areas. That's $150 a week, right? Times 4, that's $600. Your average commission is $5,000. Oh, gee, that's a good return. Your average commission is $10,000. Let's say your average commission is $3,000. That's still a good return. Do it. Get a part-time person now, put them in the class and start building the systems. And then as you start to do some more closings, hire that assistant to come in a few more hours. Come in Saturday. Let's build this system together. That's a good one.
And Monica,
Okay?
would you recommend hiring these people as employees, assistants as employees, or subcontractors?
Oh my gosh, never a subcontractor. The IRS will come and beat you with a club and take all your money, and then they're going to fine you. They are employees because you're going to tell them what to do. You're going to tell them they have hours. You're going to tell them where to sit. They've got a desk. That is an employee. They're not independent contractors. They don't come in when they want. They don't do what they want. You're telling them what to do. They have a job description. That's an employee. I just saved you a lot of money. I got fined on that in the 90s. I'm proud of myself. Not really. Okay, what else, Steph?
Okay, one more. If I hire a transaction coordinator, do you suggest charging a transaction fee above your commission too?
Well, I did, and every state's different, so I answered the question this way. What does your team leader broker say in your market center? So I defer to that. Did I charge a transaction fee? Yes. Was I skillful at that? Yes. Did I have to back off sometimes on it? Sure. Some agents do it, some agents don't. So the answer for me is I got to stay Switzerland. You decide whatever your market is doing, go for it.
Okay,
what else?
There is one more. Is it worth doing the program if I'm not sure the assistant will be long-term?
Yes, because what's happened, and it's been, I mean, this is kind of, hire your assistant, put them in the program. Make sure that they are on the calls, they are taking notes, and that they're doing something off of each call. And if not, you have a corrective conversation. And so the calls will make them be great and raise their level, or it will get them out of there. The good news is all the calls are recorded. That's 6 months long, and then they're held for 2 months for you to go back, listen, copy, take whatever you want. So there's 6 months plus 2 months. So everything's recorded. So one agent fired their assistant in call, I think it was 5. And then he hired another one by call 10. And then that person went back and listened to everything, and also on their own time, which was great. And then caught up with us and started, and of course, listened to all the calls, caught up. Okay? So I really want you to join the program. Stephanie, tell them again one more time, and then we'll send a link to it. They go to where? What's the website?
You go to MAPS Coaching at kw.com, click on the group coaching, and there's your sign up sheet right there.
And then what's the code that they put in for their discount of $100 for the first call?
Code is WEB100, WEB 100.
Okay, great. If you have any questions about that, you can email me at monica@kw.com. You will get a copy of this recording. You will get a copy of all of that material. I appreciate you being on the call. I'd love to talk to you every week, so sign up. And by the way, I've got 3 sessions at Family Reunion. Come on over there and listen to more if you're curious about assistance. Thanks, everybody, for being on the call. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you.